recognize Mr. Issa for 5 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning, Ambassador.
Good morning.
I want to follow up right where we left off there. Who made the decision to essentially jettison the requirement for the Foreign Service exam?
Jettison is...
Okay. Did you participate in the decision that led to this change?
It is not something I participated in at all, but fully support, and it's good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. It's been a long time since Malta.
Yeah.
On my way to Libya.
Yeah.
But I want to ask, because this is one of the things that bothers me sometimes about government bureaucracies. One, it's a big decision. There should be transparency. I'm sure you agree as to who made the decision and why. But following up on a couple of the last statements you made, you said we probably should, we probably should, we probably should. Mm-hmm. And Ambassador, I couldn't agree more. So the question is, why did either your department, small funding and so on, or the State Department with its many billions, why is it that you're not coming to us with a comprehensive study showing the scores on these tests historically and whether it shows better performance? Does somebody who gets a minimum just as likely to succeed as somebody who maxes it? Additionally, as you know, and I'm proud to say it's a good policy of the State Department, people enter the State Department from all walks of life at all ages, sometimes even having fully retired from a first career. Do you have facts on how well they do? Lastly, I'm sure you've done a study and you know the ratio of men and women, minorities of each category who serve in the State Department. Is that correct?
Yes, we have a demographic baseline.
And does it relatively, in most cases, particularly as to African Americans and others, reflect America with some accuracy, particularly when you consider college graduation rates?
Does the number of African Americans in the State Department reflect
If you look at the number of
percentage
African Americans who graduate from college and the number of white people who graduate from college and consider them the base of all applicants, is the ratio relatively similar or not?
I would say probably not, but I'm going to take that question back because I
would appreciate
I don't
it.
want to, yeah.
Yeah, because, and I specifically asked from the qualified pool of graduates, because I think it's extremely important that we are looking at the qualified pools, those who can pass and get a security clearance, those who have met the minimum requirements in other areas.
Although, Congressman, I have to add, of course, that you do not need a college degree to join the Foreign Service.
It sure as hell helps.
Well, it's not a requirement. I'll be clear on that.
Touche.
Okay.
Lastly, and there's always one zinger, Ambassador, and we've known each other a long time, so I hope you'll forgive this. In 2018, the New York Times did quote you using terms like, "You knew you were among the reviled," referring to yourself relative to President Trump's administration. You were pretty harsh on him. My question to you is, does your organization now, or is it in your future, to balance essentially those who would vote for President Trump or President George W. Bush or President George H. Bush or any other relatively conservative with those who would, and I'm not saying did, it's none of our business how somebody voted per se, but do you feel you have a balance between people of a more conservative view and a people of more liberal view, and is that part of your diversity and inclusion?
So, as you know, there's no way to know who people vote for because
Except, of course, we do know, based on records that show over 90% of State Department Foreign Service people do vote in the Democrat primary, do vote for Democrats. I mean, the press has reported pretty widely that it's not 50-50 or even 60-40.
Mm-hmm. Well, that is not part of the purview of my office. We are not looking at political
I ask you,
views.
because the purview of your office can and will expand with time. Yeah. I ask you to beg the question of, do you already have a inherent bias toward liberals, Democrats, overwhelmingly, And if so, is that in fact part of balancing, if you will, America? And if not, should it be? And you can answer for the record. I apologize for running over.
Okay.
But Ambassador, it is good to see you again. I wish you well in your future endeavors.
Thank you.
Gentleman's time has expired.